In this series, we're going to take a closer look at the computer programming language called Julia. Now here we are on the Julia homepage. You see the URL julialang.org, lang for language. You can read up all about Julia, read the documentation, learn about it, all sorts of good information here. So why Julia? Indeed, there are many programming languages for you to get involved in. C, C++, C#, I think would be most people's start when they look at computer languages. If you want something that's easy to learn and yet phenomenally powerful and can do website development, can do program development, can do scientific computing, Python is a phenomenal language to start getting involved in. Here though, we're going to look at Julia. And when you choose to get involved with a programming language, you really have to know what your goal is. So Julia really is for someone who wants to get involved in the future in some kind of scientific computing. Anything that has to do with any kind of mathematical evaluations, Julia is well suited to. Julia is very, very quick language. By quick, I mean the code gets executed very rapidly. As opposed to something like Python or your other mathematical languages like MATLAB or even using Mathematica, which can be quite slow. So Julia, you write the code, which is almost like writing English. It's almost as easy as Python itself, but it gets compiled into computer code, which is then rapidly executed by what is called a just-in-time compiler. All of those things you can learn about with time. This series, we're just going to get comfortable with the programming language called Julia. Now, the first place we're going to go to is the download section here. You can see the current release as of the making of this recording is version 0.3.11 and version 0.4 is under development. You can see here how to install Julia for Windows, for Mac OS, and then for either the Red Hat package managers or the Debian-based Linux operating systems. You can click on those and we'll certainly look at how to install those. Once you've installed it though, which we're not going to do right now, you can either install your IPython, or what is now referred to as a Jupyter notebook, because you need to write the code somewhere. You might have the language, but you've got to be able to write the code somewhere, and that is called a development environment. And the Jupyter notebooks are phenomenal. You can do all sorts of other programming languages inside of these notebooks these days. They are phenomenal, especially for the use of Python, and we're going to we can use Julia for that as well. Juno is a fantastic development environment, and we're going to look at Juno as well. For right now, though, I want to show you something called juliabox.org. It is a website that has Julia built in, so you don't have to download and install anything. It is fantastic. It makes use of what is called these iJulia notebooks. iJulia refers to a form of Julia that works inside of these Jupyter notebooks, the development environment. Now, notebooks or Jupyter notebooks is all big words that you might know nothing about. What it refers to is this environment where you code right on into a web page. So if you download Jupyter notebooks through a system like Anaconda or others, you're going to have it on your computer, but we're going to use the notebooks that live on the internet, so we don't have to install anything. juliabox.org. We're going to click on that, and there we go. juliabox.org, still in beta, but actually it works quite beautifully. So we're going to learn how to start coding in Julia using this Julia box. It's very easy. You just sign in with your Google account. If I click on that, it's going to sign me in automatically because I've signed in before. If that's the first time you do it, a box is going to open up and you've got to put in your Google username and password. For this reason, I am using this. You can see on the top, I'm using the Google Chrome browser just because everything works properly, better than perhaps the other operating systems, and there's all sorts of technicalities involved there as well. So I haven't installed Julia at all. I did not have to install Julia. I'm going to run a Jupyter notebook right inside of a active web page. I'm going to sign in there. It's going to take a little while just to sign me in. As I say, it's going to sign me in automatically. Because I've done so before. If that's the first time you do it, you'll have to have a Google account and you have to sign in with that Google account. And this is what it looks like. With time, we're not going to go through the step of what each and every little thing means as we go along. What is going to happen is you're going to learn how these things work by just using them all the time. So this is what it looks like. There's my little home button there. which means it's a computer directory just as on your hard drive, but it lives in the cloud, and I can store all sorts of things. Here on the right hand side we see I can start a new Julia notebook. That is my computer file that I'm going to code, Julia notebook version 0.3.11. You see the Julia box, I've already made the new 0.4 development open, and you can also use an older version of Python 2.0. Suppose most people still use Python 2, but Python's already gone into 3.4, almost going to 3.5, so a bit more advanced than that is. But we are interested in the Julia notebooks. That is what we're going to do. So we're going to start off with Julia by not having to install anything. We're going to use juliabox.org.